Hello everyone and welcome to the fifth episode of my DDLC modding beginners tutorial. Today we are looking at custom assets including images, sounds / music and a custom character. Before we get into the code, just a couple words about copyright. Please try to not use any copyrighted material in your mod. At the DDMC server, if we find out that your mod has any copyrighted material, we will ban your mod from the subreddit. You have the option to remove the copyrighted content and post your mod back up on the subreddit, that's okay, but just keep in mind, try not to use any copyrighted material, okay? The only exception to this is we allow covers of songs if you make the cover yourself or if you get someone to make the cover specifically for you, okay, but that's the only exception. Also, I'll take this chance to say, at least at the time of recording, AI generated content is also not allowed. This may seem a little weird to some of you, but it just generated too many discussions both in the subreddit and in the Discord server, and not enough people used it to justify it, so we just decided to ban it. You can use, for example, upscaling AIs to just increase the resolution of an existing image, but no generative AIs, no creating brand new images or brand new songs from scratch, okay? If you're watching this far into the future, some of these rules might have changed. If you want to make sure, just go to the server and ask or check the rules section of the server. Also, I think it goes without saying, these rules only really apply to our servers. We don't really have the power to apply any rules anywhere else, but of course you should respect copyright law everywhere, okay? So just keep that in mind and let's go to our actual code now. And just before we get into our custom assets, I just want to tell you about two very useful shortcuts. The first one is going to be Control F. This opens a little window here at the top where you can type and you can search in this file for what you're typing. So for example, if I type here hello, you can see it found 3 instances of hello, one here, and one here. They are highlighted and you can scroll through them with these 2 arrows here. This might seem a little silly with a file this small, but if we go to a bigger file, for example definitions.rpy, which has over 1500 lines, now it doesn't seem so silly to search here. For example, if we search for audio.t1, you can see it takes us right to audio.t1. It found 3 instances. In this case, the second and the third aren't really audio.t1. You can see it's a part of audio.t10, but this can be very useful when you're searching for something in a big file. The second shortcut is going to be Control-Shift-F. This is very similar. It opens a window here on the left, but instead of searching just the file that you have open, it's going to search all the files that you have open here on the left. If you remember, in the second episode, we learned how to open an entire folder inside Visual Studio Code. This way, when you use Ctrl-Shift-F and you search for something here, it's going to find it in all of the files. So just for example, let's say I search for label, the word label. Well, let's see, it found our label in day1.rpy, it found our second label in day2.rpy, it found a bunch of labels in GUI, it found a bunch of labels in screen, in script.rpy, etc, etc, etc. This is going to find all of the words label in all of the files that we have open in Visual Studio Code. This is especially useful for a beginner because someone might tell you to find something somewhere and you're not sure where it is, and this will take you directly to it. So for example, let's say we want to add a new character and someone tells you in the Discord server, for example, that you need to search for the dynamic characters to add a new one. So you can come here and you can type dynamic character and they're all going to show up here. You can click one and you're right at the place of the dynamic characters. As you can see, this is a really useful feature. I use it all the time, and make sure you get used to it because it's going to save you a ton of time in the long run, okay? But for now, let's actually get to adding a new character to our mod. As you might have imagined, if we want to add a new character, first we need sprites for this character. And you might also be asking where to get these sprites. In reality, you can get these sprites anywhere you want. Sprites are just normal PNG images, we just give them a special name. But I would recommend that the first place you check is the Doki Modding Archive. This is a website originally created by Codex and now maintained by Retro and David Locklin, 3 members of our community. And in simple words, it's a big collection of assets meant to be used for DDLC modding. As you can see, we have original characters and their sprites, outfits for the girls, sprite edits, character graphics, backgrounds, edits of other backgrounds, some modding tools and music. As you can see, a lot of what's here is made specifically for DDLC. Some other things are more general, especially the backgrounds are generally just normal backgrounds for any VN. That said, there is a lot of good stuff here. Most of the assets in my mods come somewhere from this website, so make sure to take a look when you need anything. Right now we're looking for sprites for a character, so let's look in the OC section. As you can see, there's quite a lot of them, and I'm just going to pick FemC, why not? If it's available, we're always going to prefer the MPT version, of course. Going to download, and I'm going to copy this to our modding folder. Just to keep everything organized, I'm going to create a new folder called assets, and I'm going to put it inside here. I'm going to unzip it, and let's see what we have here. In general, with MPT packs, you're going to find that there is a folder with all of the assets and an RPY file that's named something like the name of the character underscore layered image. And we want to copy both of these, the folder and the RPY, into our projects, into game, mod assets inside MPT. And we're just going to paste it here alongside the other layered images for our dokis. Okay, so that's done. Let's go back to our code. The next step is going to be to create a dynamic character for our new character. As you can see here, the MC and each of the girls have their own dynamic character. By the way, these letters here after the define is what you use in the dialogue when you want one of the characters to speak. This is the letter that defines that. So for our new character, I'm just going to copy one of the existing ones as a base. I'm going to change this letter here to something unique. I'll just use F for FemC. I'm going to change Y name to F name. Again, can be anything as long as it's unique. And this image here is going to depend on the MPT that you downloaded. So let's go to the MPT folder, going to mod assets MPT, and in this case I want the FemC layered image, and you're going to scroll down until you find the layered image statement. After the layered image there's going to be a name, in this case it's FemC, and this is the name that you want to put in the dynamic character. You're going to copy this, going to dynamic character, image equals FemC. It's always going to be like this. You find the layered image in the file, this name here, and this name is the one that you put here. Finally, we need to create the fname variable. You don't really need to understand variables yet, so for now, just use Ctrl+Shift+F and search for default yname, and it's going to take you to the right place. And here, where you can find all the names of the girls, you just copy one of them, change this to the name that you gave it on the dynamic character, and then change this to be whatever name you want to give that character. I'm just going to call her FemC. So that should be ready to use. Now let's just go to day one real quick. I'm going to replace Sayori with FemC, turn at T11. The name that we use after the show is this name here, the one inside image. This is the name that you used with the show. So now I'm going to launch the game real quick. I'm going to start a new game, and instead of Sayori, which you see, FemC. Let's also change it so it's her talking. So I'm going to change this to F, and I'm FemC. And if we go back and I turn on auto reload, you can see now it's FemC talking. Now, for example, FemC doesn't have a cheat sheet with images like the girls had. She has a text guide that shows her poses, and this is really going to be a case-by-case thing depending on which MPT you download. It might have a guide, it might not have a guide, and you'll have to adapt to whatever you have. Again, if you ever need any help working an MPT, you can always ask in the Discord channel. So with that done, let's get to images. Luckily for us, images and music is going to be a lot simpler than adding a character, okay? So I already have an image and a song here. Let's start with the image. I'm just going to copy this image, and in our project, inside game, inside mod assets, I'm going to create a new folder called BG for background, and I'm going to paste our image here. Again, you don't need to create these folders, but I recommend that you create them just for keeping everything organized. So we have our image here called park.png, and you'll notice that this image is 720p, that is 1280 by 720. And for backgrounds, they need to be this exact size. Technically speaking, you can change the size in game, but it's easier if your backgrounds are just 720p to start. If you want to add other images, they can be any size you want, right? But for the backgrounds, keep to this size. So let's go back to our code, and in definitions.rpy, let's maybe search for the backgrounds that are already defined. Here we are. These are the backgrounds that come with DDLC. So maybe just below them, let's add our own. And how do we add this? To add a background, we'll type image bg space the name that you want to give this background. This can be any name. In this case, I'm going to call it park space equals, and then inside quotes, we are going to put the path to our image starting from game. What do I mean by this? If I go back to our project, I'm going to start inside the game folder. From here, I need to put the path to our image in that string that I'm creating. So the path here is mod assets bg park.png. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to put mod assets slash bg slash park.png. So this path here is going to match this path here at the top, starting from game forward, mod assets bg park.png. And now if I go back to our label and I switch this class day here for park, and I save, and I go back to the main menu, main menu, and I start a new game, we have our park. It's that simple to add backgrounds. You can add as many as you want. So let's get to the music. I also have a music here. This is a music from my own mod that I composed. And just keep in mind that in RenPy, due to licensing issues, because RenPy is free, MP3s don't work. I suggest that you use .ogg. If you have an MP3 you want to use, you can use an online converter to convert it to OGG. You can also use WAV files, WAV. If you want to check the full list, you can go to the audio docs of RenPy, but I really recommend that you use OGG, it's good quality and it's a small size. So let's copy and let's do the exact same thing. We're going to go into our project, into game, into the mod assets folder, and I'm going to create a folder called music. And I'm going to paste my music here. And let's go back to our code, back to definitions, and let's find our audio.t1. These are the songs and sounds that already come defined with RenPy. So again, here in the bottom, let's just put in our own. And in this case, we want to use define audio dot, and then you put any name that you want to give it. I'm going to call it Better Dawn, which is the name of the song, equals, and then we're going to do exactly the same thing. Mod assets, music, Better Dawn dot ogg. It's exactly the same thing. We put in the path to the file starting from the game folder. The difference is this define audio dot that tells RenPy that this is an audio file, so it can do some special processing. And now if we go back to our label and we switch this T5 for Better Dawn, notice that you don't need to put the audio dot when you're doing the play statement. And I save this. We go back to the main menu and we start a new game. And our custom music is playing. Now there is one more thing in relation to music, which is the loop points. So you can see that in the DDLC songs there is this loop statement before the path. This tells RenPy where to loop the song when it reaches the end. There are 3 statements to the loops. So you can have up to 3 things. You can have the from, you can have the to, and you can have the loop. You can have all 3, you can have one of them, you can have 2 of them, you can mix it any way you want. The from statement tells RenPy where to start the song just the very first time that it plays it. So it's the first time the song is playing, it's going to start from the time in seconds, in decimal seconds, that you put in front of it. The to statement is where the song is going to stop. So when it reaches this time, in this case when it reaches 10 seconds, it's going to stop and go back to the beginning. Or if the loop statement exists, this is where the loops recommence. So the first time the song starts from here, but when it's looping, it's going to start from here. And depending on your song, you're going to mix this around to loop the song the way that you need it to. And that's going to be it for today. We looked at pretty much all the custom assets that you're going to need. In the next episode, we are going to talk about styles and about the GUI. As always, if you have any questions, the best place to put them is in the Discord server. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.